in the country, if not the world, for the last 4 years. Our passenger traffic has grown 300% over pre-pandemic levels. SRQ went from 6 airlines and 12 nonstop destinations in 2018 to 11 airlines and 55 nonstop destinations today, generating $3.2 billion of annual economic impact on our community and generating over 23,000 jobs in the community. While it provides positive economic benefits, our jobs and our community and state, it brings with it great demand for infrastructure expansion to handle that growth. I know that the House of Representatives has been considering passage of the FAA reauthorization bill that provides capital construction funds for airports, which is funded by user fees. This bill has bipartisan support, and we hope you are successful in moving it forward. We also appreciate your efforts on the 2024 Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development Appropriation Bill, which includes more budgetary resources for FAA. Mr. Speaker, there is a saying in our industry that if you build 2 miles of rail or 2 miles of roads, you can connect people 2 miles. When you build 2 miles of runway, you can connect people to the world. On behalf of everyone here working to improve our connections to the world, we pray for your great success as you embark on your journey as the 56th Speaker in our nation's history. I have one small token of our appreciation for your visit today, which hopefully you will wear sometime on the House floor. I wish to point out that this is a SRQ red tie.
Hey, all right, there we go. That's
It's now my added honor to introduce Congressman from the 16th District, Vern Buchanan. Congressman Buchanan has a key understanding of the critical role the airport plays in the economic health of our community. He's been a staunch supporter and a great friend. Please welcome Congressman Buchanan to the podium. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to thank Rick. It's an exciting day to have our speaker here, but I will say I've got a chance when we first bought a business in town, the Ford store. I met Rick back then, and we spent a lot of time on the Sarasota Chamber talking about the importance of an airport, because I came down 7 years from Tampa, where they had the Tampa airport, and phenomenal growth. So it's one of the biggest economic opportunities. And they've gone from a couple of years ago, 2,000 employees in terms of the complex to 3,000 employees. And that's really my focus, is doing everything we can to make a difference in terms of that, jobs and other opportunities. As many of you know, for a long time, 15 years ago, I don't want to say it the wrong way, but the airport went dead. They've got a great board. They've got the airport, then it was Tampa, and Fort Myers, and Sarasota. They didn't want to do all 3 areas. Somewhat the same thing. They got Miami and Palm Beach and Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale didn't do as well because of the other 2. But this airport's on fire in terms of opportunities, and I'm very excited to be a part of that. And it gives me great pleasure today. And before I do, I just want, you might mention, who's this young guy here today? We came in together. He's chairman of trade, a position I had as leader of trade. And so I seen him in the crowd, so I asked him to come up. But we do have 14 ports in Florida. It's big. He oversees a lot of that activity. 1 in 5 jobs are trade related, so it's very important. So let me just say now, I'm very, very excited about our new speaker. His lovely wife's here, but when I had a chance to meet him over the last year or 2 on different things we were talking about, the thing I loved about him is his mentality about being a servant leader. Someone taught me many years ago, 30, 40 years ago, help other people be successful and you'll be successful. And that's what he offers, and that's what he's going to bring to it every day. He will be a members leader in terms of helping myself and Adrian and other members to try to get projects like this over the goal line. So with that, I'd like to welcome up our speaker, a great leader, and we just very thank God for his leadership.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It is great to be back in the great state of Florida. It's my 2nd time in a week. We can't get enough of it. There's a lot going on here, and there's a lot to be proud of. And this airport is a great symbol of all of that, and so we're delighted to be here. My wife Kelly is with me, as I mentioned. She's over there in the white coat, and we got up early this morning in Louisiana and could not wait to arrive. I want to thank my dear friend Vern Buchanan for having us here, and Adrian Smith as well. These are two of the most powerful members of Congress. They serve on our Ways and Means Committee, and they help direct all the economic traffic for the country. And so it's appropriate that they're here to talk about the great growth here at the airport. And the president and CEO, Rick Piccolo, has been a great host so far. He's so excited to talk about all the extraordinary things that are happening here, the phenomenal growth that you're experiencing. And it's a great message, I think, for the whole country. Look, our nation's airports are certainly at the top of everybody's mind this year. Of course, families across the country are traveling far and wide for the holidays. Many people just arrived back home for Thanksgiving, and they'll be doing it again around Christmas. Our nation's airports are also at the top of Congress's mind this year. As it's been mentioned, we've been working on the Federal Aviation Administration reauthorization legislation, and that is the main federal law governing air travel and aviation policy for the whole country. And the FAA bill only comes around for reauthorization every 5 years, so this is a big thing for us. The aviation sector accounts for more than 5% of America's GDP. It supports 11 million jobs, and it carries over 850 million passengers annually. It looks like a lot of them come through here in Sarasota. Maintaining and improving and growing airports like this one is critical to our economy, of course, to tourism, securing our supply chain, and growing opportunities for local industries. And that's why the House has done its job. The House passed a strong FAA reauthorization earlier this year that will grow the aviation workforce, improve safety, ensure reliable flights for the American people, and do everything that we need to do. We're duty-bound to make sure that happens. Our bill also streamlines the FAA in Washington, and it invests in our airport infrastructure through the Airport Improvement Program, and it cuts down on red tape that makes it hard to build new airports and projects like the one that we're witnessing here. It also provides new opportunities for pilots to ensure that we have the workforce we need to safely grow service where projects like this are completed. America is the gold standard in aviation safety and innovation, but the FAA needs reforms, it needs investment and stability to continue that legacy for American passengers. It's critical that the Senate take up our FAA reauthorization and quickly send it to the President's desk in order to maintain the gold standard that we all are so familiar with. We appreciate your attention today. We thank you again. I want to thank Rick and Vern and Adrian for being here. And with that, if you have a few questions, we're happy to entertain those.
Speaker,
yes.
Question about the funding for Israel, Ukraine package. Mike Turner, the intelligence chairman, said yesterday in the press it may not happen until next calendar year. What are your thoughts about that? Also, there's reports, the immigration part of that. There's reports about asylum screening is going to be part of that. Can you talk about that?
Well, we have some negotiations that are going on in earnest. In fact, I was on the flight before we landed, texting back and forth with Senate colleagues and others who are working on the negotiation. Listen, Israel is a top priority for the United States, and supporting our ally there is critical. It's one of the first things we did. In fact, we passed the bipartisan Israel support package out of the House a while ago, right? Not long after I took the gavel, about a month ago. It's been sitting in the Senate and on Chuck Schumer's desk, and so we are encouraging him to get that done. Ukraine is another priority. Of course, we can't allow Vladimir Putin to march through Europe, and we understand the necessity of assisting there. What we've said is that if there is to be additional assistance to Ukraine, which most members of Congress believe is important, we have to also work in changing our own border policy. And so there's been a lot of thoughtful negotiation ongoing with that. I think most of our Senate colleagues recognize that those two things need to move together because we owe that to the American people. That's what they're demanding that we do. With regard to the rest of it, there's some other items in the supplemental package. I think all that will come together in the coming days. We have a sense of urgency about this, and there are deadlines on it as well. So I'm confident and optimistic that we'll be able to get that done, get it over the line. It is, but it's been a great gift to the American people that we will not be facing a Christmas shutdown. We broke the omnibus fever. We call it the Omni fever. So as long as I've been in Congress and for many of the last recent years, What happens is Congress doesn't do its work, and so the Senate jams the House right before the Christmas holiday with a multi-trillion-dollar spending package or something close to it that's 2,000 or 3,000 pages in length that few members of Congress have had a chance to actually digest and read and meaningfully debate. And so we broke that up. The laddered CR, the two-step CR that we were able to pass before November 17th, to that deadline, pushes it into 2 dates. We have mid-January and early February. The remaining appropriations bills need to be conferenced between the House and the Senate. We have a little bit of work left to do on the House side, but most of it is in the Senate's lap right now. And again, we're optimistic that we'll be able to get those negotiated and done in time so that we will not be facing a government shutdown. So there's a lot of members of Congress working in good faith. People have their sleeves rolled up. They got a couple of days at home for Thanksgiving. Everybody blew off some steam, and I've talked to members across the Republican conference who are ready to get back to work, and that begins in earnest tomorrow morning.
Mr. Speaker, you mentioned the traveling public coming back from Thanksgiving, but as we all know, there were a number of travel disruptions last year because of the pilot shortage, because of the retiring workforce among air traffic controllers, shortage of TSA agents. You mentioned reform in the FAA and funding for that. How do you ensure that we don't have those kinds of travel disruptions going forward?
Well, Congress has a role to play in ensuring that these disruptions don't happen, and we're trying to be good stewards of that and perform that duty well. And that's why, as I mentioned in our bill, the FAA reauthorization, is once every 5 years. This time around, we put some important reforms in there. We want to build up the supply of pilots that are available, and obviously we need some reform at the TSA. I'm not delighted in the way that Secretary Buttigieg has run the Transportation Department. I think there's let's say, to be charitable, it's left much to be desired. But so much as the House and we have a responsibility in helping to reform these things, we've included a lot of those priorities in that bill. And so that's why we're encouraging the Senate to take it up and get it done and get it to the President's desk, because I think it will behoove and help all the American people.
Will there be an expulsion vote on George Santos this week?
It remains to be seen. I've spoken to Congressman Santos at some length over the holiday and talked with him about his options, but we'll have to see. It's not yet determined, but we'll be talking about that when we get back tomorrow. Maybe one more?
Sir, let me go right here. We've seen issues with Social Security considering overpayments, the same issues hitting the VA, veterans being told they have to pay back tens of thousands of dollars. Would you support bringing a bill to the floor that could address some of these issues, find relief for some of these people facing these problems with federal agencies?
Yeah, it's a terrible problem that some of these folks are facing, and these are people, our veterans, our seniors that we've got to take care of. And so there's a lot of thoughtful discussion and debate happening in Congress right now on what role Congress may play in trying to resolve some of that. But some of those decisions will be made in the coming weeks, but it's a top priority for us. Listen, we want to thank y'all again for being here. I want to thank all the board members, everybody who works here on this extraordinary, exciting project. We're cheering you along in Florida, all across the country, because this is a bellwether for what happens for the rest of the nation, and it gives us hope. When a state is well led, and when you have great leaders like Congressman Vern Buchanan and others who are at the helm, you have a great delegation of Republican members of Congress from Florida, and they are leaders in every respect in the chamber. So thank you for sending them to us. We'll continue to do a good job for you. And we want to say God bless and thanks for being here. Thank you. And my wrist now it's on. Thank you.
Rotates between us. Hopefully you'll be next. I'll look like you.